talking about the core trends for next year, but more importantly, the core trends that never go out of style. And I think that this is really helpful, not just for yourselves, too, but for your clients, because getting a new listing, it's always important to identify the elements that kind of define each style, and also because like trends change. I mean, these days, like every 2 years, some trends fade away in 1 year, and so these will be the elements that will help you stay in style. So first, we're going to start with the colors of the year for 2019. So the Pantone color has been revealed, and the Sherwin-Williams and the Benjamin Moore. I want to take guesses of what this color might be.
Oh, I already saw it. It's coral, like a coral.
Yeah. So that is right. That's the Pantone color of the year. And I must say, so every time a color of the year comes out, this doesn't necessarily mean that what's going to be in trend is everyone next year painting their homes this color. Please don't.
Yeah.
But this is just to give you an idea of like the colors and that you'll see product design. So more than likely next year you'll have a lot of blush tones, warm red undertones coming in furniture and the core elements. So Benjamin Moore's colors of the year. So this is the palette for next year, and their color of the year is Metropolitan. So it's this color right here, and as you can see, this isn't very far from what we have been doing for the past 2 years. So the grays will be very much in style. So if a home buyer asks you what color they should paint their house, gray and white is still lovely. However, for accent colors, and again, this is something that, because the trends for next year always kind of start the year before, and I'm sure that a lot of you have been seeing kitchen islands or kitchen cabinets coming up with a lot of these accent colors. So green kind of started more towards the end. It's coming back later.
Really, really wide eyes.
It's
John Marty's still using that color.
It will be back. I will say that we just did a kitchen at Columbia so the walls are shiplap white and the kitchen cabinets are teal green with black hardware. It sounds not very lovely. It looks great. It looks honest. Like it really looks cute, and that's something that we will eventually post photos once the project is fully finished on Instagram and on our blog. So
Which house was Columbia?
835 Columbia. So it was one of our projects.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, if you have any
So if they're running, if Metropolitan is their color of the year, this being a lot of gray and white type of environments.
right.
What are we seeing as far as hardware finishes? Brass, gold, stainless?
Yeah, so I mean that's kind of like the great thing is that there's really no rule as long as you're not doing shiny, unless it's chrome. So if you're doing chrome hardware, then shine's acceptable.
Okay.
But for the brass trends, that's still very much in. But just remember that it's the flat, so the matte finish, and not the shiny stuff, because shiny gold can get a little bit faded. And I mean, like especially if we're doing all these colors that are coming back, you definitely don't want the shiny gold because it instantly sets a different mood for the house. And again, I don't know if you want to take notes on all of this. We can also share the PDF. So I know that decorator's white is also so. And again, this is something that whenever, and I simply, this, every time when you ask me what whites or grays, so the whites from Sherwin-Williams are still definitely alabaster, pure white, snowbound, and occasionally silver white. From Sherwin-Williams, we also recommend Simply White a lot. That one's not here because it's not trending apparently, but it's a great white. And then Decorator's White is also great. White to use. So this is probably like the best indication of the hues and colors which will be trending next year. On the other hand, Sherwin's Williams color for next year is Cavern Clay, which is nothing like the colors we were looking at previously. It is a little bold, but again, it is in line with the Pantone color, the Coral Living. Again, if someone decides to use this color in their home, I wouldn't necessarily recommend painting the whole house this color, but maybe as an accent color, just do maybe one feature wall or something, or just don't do it at all. Yeah, and again, so this is kind of to go back to the finishes. Brass is still very, very much trending, and this is kind of their color palette. So aside from paint colors, I'm gonna walk you over the 9 top trends that you'll be seeing next year. And as I was mentioning before, so the blush tones will definitely be back, but again, this doesn't mean necessarily to paint your color this house, but a good way is with furniture naturally. Geometric patterns will also be strong in 2019. And this is something that, again, we have been seeing this year with the cement tile that, like every builder is using. But maybe instead of just doing it on the floor, maybe on the walls too. So geometric patterns will definitely be back, and also curved furnishings.
Is that a tile?
It is a tile. So these are the cement tiles.
Oh,
Sorry.
I see. It's
No, so you see, it's probably a 12 by 12. I'm actually, let me get a sample because we do have. Sorry.
Yeah, I was wondering if things could make the tile shop, cost fortune total pieces in, or is that
Yeah, I can see it in the picture now.
So by cement tiles, you see like the kind of finish. And these were a big trend in 2018. So all what's happening essentially is that we'll keep using a lot of these materials throughout 2019, but a little bit more of a geometric pattern. Statement ceilings will be back, so expect to see a lot of wallpaper on ceilings. And then also multifunctional furniture. And by this, so this trend is that smaller pieces of furniture are starting to be used again. And like what people tend to think, this is actually a good way of making rooms feel bigger. This is probably a good tip for your clients too. If they're moving into a house that's not necessarily very big, or even if it is big, just use smaller pieces of furniture. And also, whereas before, you'd see maybe like a sofa chair or just a chair that will clearly belong in the living room. Now you can kind of, maybe like you can be using more of a study room chair in the living room, because it's just about this more multifunctionality of the house. And then naturally eco-friendly, like plants have been trending a lot this year, but just using that in different ways. So, and I love how some of the faces are looking at these trends. If you have any questions or are scared about any of this, just let me know. Cynthia, you don't look very convinced.
Oh no, I'm in something else.
Okay. So our
Thinking about all the work my house needs.
pictures.
It's very impressive.
Oh my God. The second part of this presentation will definitely help you with that. So again, these are the trends for 2019. If you want to have a larger plan, don't necessarily just stick to this. I'm just giving you an idea of what will be trending next year. So Art Deco is coming back, boho style, so a lot of mix and matching going on. And then the terrazzo material is coming back too, which let's see how this affects construction here, and if we'll see a lot of that. I'm interested to see how that works out. So as I mentioned in the beginning, these are kind of like the 9 hot topics for 2019, but I always feel that, like more important than following trends is understanding what your personal style is for your house, because you don't necessarily have to, like renovate as much if you know what your style is, if you play a lot with furniture for that, instead of having to paint the whole house and change style and all of that, if you go with timeless classic selections, you can easily just maybe change out a furniture piece and you'll still be happy with how your house feels. So here's a quote about this, that fashion fades in style is eternal. And then I would also like to ask each one of you if you already know or feel that you understand what your style for your home is. It is.
Oh, I definitely, but then
So
I'm old, after you've been around a few houses through it, then you know.
how would you describe your style?
My style is furniture picked up from family and antique stores, decor from travel, and way too much color for what's happening. So when I sell my house, I'm gonna have to pale out all the color,
But that's great. So we can say that your style is classical and well traveled, for instance, right?
But like Oriental rugs, that I cannot see them working at all for this current style.
Well, and that actually fits in some of these trend styles that we're going through. So if you have any questions as we go through this, just let me know. But hopefully this will help you a bit, because so regardless of all the trends that are going on, there are always certain styles which are timeless, because even, and let's go back to the 9 topics for 2019, even a statement ceiling, there are just such a wide range of wallpaper styles that you can pick from. You can pick a style that's more geometric, you can pick one that's more classical, you can pick one that's more botanical, and all of that contributes to a different style of the space. So that's why it's important to understand and defining the home style. So a contemporary style, this is usually the easiest to keep up with, which is basically whatever you can find in stores right now. But this is also the hardest one to keep up with in a way, because it's constantly changing and it changes so much. And what's contemporary this year won't be contemporary 2 years from now, 3 years from now. But again, this style is about a modern approach, open space, embracing natural light, clean lines, shape and form, and no clutter. Yes.
And as you go through the different styles,
Right.
can you give us suggestions of a couple of particular stores that we can guide clients to if they wanted
Yeah.
to see examples of this? So like contemporary, what would be good examples of stores that would carry a lot of that style?
So for contemporary style, this is the easiest style to shop for, because it's what every store is selling right now, essentially. So if you go to, West Elm, Wayfair, like any of those marketplaces, it's just whatever they have there, it's what's trending right now, and therefore contemporary. Yes.
My 3 favorite stores is Design Within Reach.
But design within reach, and we will get to that. It's
Yeah.
more of a mid-century modern style. So So for contemporary, it's more like it's like a popular demand in a way. So it
Yeah.
really is literally what you can walk into a store.
Well, and then my second store is Sunset Settings, which is the residential Knoll distributor. But they carry a Casina and a lot of other classic design chairs that were done in the 40s
Right.
that look so contemporary, they look like they were designed yesterday. And then Mecox on Westheimer.
Okay.
So
It's great.
I think the really cutting edge contemporary thing approach to Hawaii and some of
Yeah.
those.
Yeah, so I feel that all the stores that Jim recommended are great if you're wanting to go, for a neck-like, which we will get to these styles, a neck-like day, or more minimal or mid-century modern style. But again, for contemporary, just Crate and Barrel, West Elm.
What's the one that was on Kirby right there across the street from the big Greenwood King office?
Mitchell Gold,
No, the big one is over in the village.
Interim close.
Interim, yeah,
They closed.
they
they close, yeah.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking.
So moving forward, again, another style that never goes out of style is classical. So this is all about a timeless approach. And again, it's totally fine to still have colorful ambiances, vivid patterns, rich fabrics, and bold pieces. And so maybe you can relate to this style a little bit. But you see, a good approach to this style is keeping fairly neutral walls and just let the colorful rugs and bold accent pieces like pillows, because it's definitely easier to change out a pillow than paint.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't use color on my walls.
And
But there's color in the house.
again, for this style, I mean, it's either antiques that were passed down through family. It's a lot about pieces that you've had for a long time, which it doesn't necessarily, just because you've had it for a long time doesn't mean it's dated. It's all about how you play with these different pieces and mix them together. And then French country, which again is also a classical style, but with a more French approach. So instead of the classical, I mean, it's still classical pieces, but as you can see, the color palette is a lot more neutral and soft, a lot of distressed and weathered wood finishes, and then it blends a bit of rustic, but with refined elements. And I will say, so when I first moved to Houston 4 years ago, I feel that this style was very much trending here. I do notice that it's fading a little bit, but again, there's nothing wrong with this style. It's still perfectly fine, and it's a timeless look. But maybe if we were to do this now, maybe you don't need that much amount of blankets and fabric on the bed. So just okay, and then Bohemian Chic, which is all about meaningful individuality. I mean, this is probably the trend among young people. So again, a lot about the well-traveled style with ethnic patterns and fabrics going on. A lot of plants. It's a laid-back approach, so with vivid colors, a lot of mix and matching of fabrics, a lot of detail, and then the plants, as I mentioned.
What's the name of the store on Westheimer that took over Tootsie's? They used to be right across the street in Highland Village. They sell ladies' clothes, but it's,
Yeah,
they have a lot
Anthropology.
of, Anthropology has a lot of that.
Yeah, this is totally
Bohemian
true. That's very right. This is very Anthropology. So Anthropology, Urban Outfitters would be the best places to shop for this. And again, the great thing about these stores too is that, I mean, a lot of these elements, you can take them from this setting and use, like these pillows are perfectly fine to use with a classical look, and they will still be great. And then, yeah. So then coastal, it's all about light and breezy. And again, some of these styles are more common in other cities than others. But I do love the feeling of walking into a house that doesn't necessarily feel that it belongs there. Like when you get surprised and you have, because it's great for the style within the house to be consistent with the outside, but sometimes it's also great to be surprised and walking in and not having the unexpected feeling. So again, this style is naturally really popular in California, but you do have people who wish they lived by the beach, and so kind of like bring this feeling into their home. So it's a lot about the fresh approach. So again, pastel colors, but naturally with a little bit more of blue and teal undertones, ocean motifs, and then weathered wood. And then tropical, which is kind of the same approach as coastal, but instead of living in the beach, you're living on an island. So bold colors, a lot of pops of green, jungle colors, and floral accents. And then cottage, so cozy and charming, a dollhouse approach. Again, a lot of mix and matching, and then simple treasured pieces. So you have something charming. I feel that, especially here in the Heights, this is kind of a common trend, and also it's very Austin-like in a way. And then vintage, which again, just gets better with time. And also this style includes a lot of things that were inherited from family members, but a little bit more colorful than the classical look, but again, still with rich textures and collected treasures. And then rustic, so straight from the earth, so a lot of wood going on, and the cabin lodge view. So going back to the story that Jimmy mentioned before, mid-century modern, so a lot of unique accents. And again, this still embraces natural elements and a lot of raw wood, but just used with minimal lines and certain line shapes. And then minimalist, so less is more, open space, clean lines and soft touches. And I will say that, so minimalism is a hard style to manage just because a lot of people tend to have, just empty rooms, nothing on the walls, and call it minimalism, and that's not necessarily. So just about the shapes and colors. And then eclectic, which is freedom of expression. And usually if you don't know how to define your home style, chances are you have an eclectic home style. So it's all about the free approach.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say, if you want this, you need a designer, because it's hard to pull off unless you have really good taste.
Well, but I mean, yeah, but at the same time, I feel that if you're genuine about it and don't overthink it too much, this style just tells so much about the person who lives in the house, which is incredible, I definitely think that this is my personal style and the one that I identify myself with the most. But again, this is all about embracing uniqueness. So all the,
Well, that's probably what my house looks like the most, but I still don't know
Great, so
if I have.
but that's the thing, and you can
yeah.
have, and that's why in the beginning I was saying that from what you were telling me, it
Stuff
sounded
you have.
a little bit
Yeah,
like.
exactly, like a combination of stuff.
Great, that's great. So, yeah, any questions? And then industrial style, so embracing rawness, so form follows function, let all the structural details show, and then raw finishes. And also, I feel like a lot of the black hardware that's still trending kind of started appearing when the industrial style started, gave some importance. And then from industrial, we go to the modern farmhouse look, which I think was probably the biggest trending style this year, and naturally will continue to be next year. So, and I have printed out some. If you want to look So again, white walls, as we always recommend, but combined with some shiplap, rustic wood, black accents and mixed metals, neutral color scheme, less pattern, more texture, and simple furniture. Here are some examples. So of course, a wood tile. And then here are some ideas of how you can blend everything together. And again, the best colored paint. And so here are the 3 whites that we recommend a lot. And also, these are some of the grays we use.
Do you know what Sherwin-Williams paint color of the year is?
Yeah, we talked about it in the beginning. It's the
Okay.
clay color.
Yeah.
And so, what I was saying in the beginning is, even though they're suggesting the clay color to be the color of the year, that doesn't mean necessarily that we should paint walls that color, but it's a
Right.
good color.
Well, I know, Pantone came out with their color of the year is coral.
Yeah.
I don't see coral
Right.
being
Right.
used on the interior and everything else.
So again, here are some more examples. So a lot of free floating shelves. And then, so here's some tiles that similar to the samples that we passed around. These aren't necessarily the cement tiles, but this will still be trending this year.
How trendy do you think this modern farmhouse look is? I mean, do you think a few years from now it's gonna be?
The great thing about the modern farmhouse look is that, if you take away all of this, you essentially have either white walls, white shiplap, and like fairly neutral finishing. So it's a great canvas for whatever you put on it. Because you can still have the white shiplap with any of the other looks really. You can
Yeah.
change the approach and use like more classic furniture or like an eclectic style. You can play with a lot of that. So I think those should work. Any questions? Any style you want to go over?
Yeah, I mean, in the next 3 weeks, I'm listing 1105 Tabor. It's new construction. It is a modern farmhouse.
Right.
2,600 square feet, oversized secondary bedrooms. Also has a 690 square foot garage. Second nicest garage I've seen in 9 years.
Price point?
Probably be 875 to 885.
And then also things, like for instance, with the modern farmhouse look, and just in case clients ask, like if they're restaining the floor, the trend is to start going with lighter floors, whereas with a more classic look, you have the dark floors, which are still beautiful, but the trend is to go with lighter floors, so the same way that the wall paint color started getting lighter and lighter, and these days everyone wants white walls, it's also the lighter the floors.
Maria picked the floors on the modern farmhouse, so it's kind of a light.
If you hate it, it's
What
It's
did
not
you
the tobacco brown.
So it
Hardwood
has a slightly, it's not a gray stain, but it does kind of have like a slight gray undertone. It's just matte finish, so not shiny, not. That's the one thing that I feel that's common to all of these styles is that we're kind of going away from the polished, shiny stuff and sticking to the matte finishes. Questions, thoughts?
So I'm gonna redo one of the units in my duplex that's just a regular 2-1 for Airbnb. So that's what I was looking for. So what would be a fun Airbnb?
So that's the thing. I feel like for Airbnb again, because if you're putting your house on Airbnb, you want to appeal to as much people as possible, but you want the house to have some sort of, like unique charm. So and especially if you're saying that you do relate to the eclectic look, I feel that this would be great. So somewhere between the eclectic and the faux. Sorry.
Yeah, because I'm torn between getting rid of some stuff that I'm tired of so I can put different stuff in my house, and starting fresh for the Airbnb.
Yeah, and so that's a great way to reuse a lot of the furniture that you already have. It's basically using that and then combining it with some more modern elements, just give it a fresh feel, but with interesting pieces that add uniqueness to the space.
We sort of have the same rule. I mean, the rule in my house is if you bring something in, something has to go out to replace, you can't just bring something in because then there's.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
I
Take
can't.
something out to put something in.
And I think that's perfect because, a lot of the times when I go on listing appointments, you will know and you'll hear me say this more than often that the key is always declutter. So I think that's a great rule. I think that's a rule we should pass on to.
Oh, yeah, that's the first thing. That's always the first
But not a
hardest
lot of
thing is
people.
how to say, hey, you're moving anyway, let's pack it up,
Yeah, and it's always insane how even though people are selling the house, how attached they get at the end, and then you're not really going to be living here, so you just have to get rid of all this stuff for now. Yeah,
You're gonna pack it anyway.
true.
What style is your house?
Yeah, I'm just curious about that.
Well,
Do you want me to go back? I can go back and also just if you see.
I
You know what
guess
would
I'm
be-
trying to modernize it. It's, I've got the silver plate walls and white trim, and it has arched opening, because it used to be a dairy farm.
Okay.
It used to be a dairy farm, and this is the main house, and the carriage house had a blacksmith
cool.
shop in it, and now I have 2 apartments there. And so it's, I've been modernizing all the fixtures over the last year or so.
Mhm.
You know, because they were kind of like Victorian, you know.
Yeah.
And I've been getting rid of all that and making it more, I don't know if it's French country or
Can I go back?
You know what would be fun?
modern. It's I guess you'd say it's eclectic.
You know what would be funny?
Yeah.
If the realtor's brave enough, take pictures of their house and just use it for internally, just for, so
I
that
think
other
this
realtors can
presentation,
see.
we'll have a game, everyone bring photos and we have to identify.
Oh,
You
yeah,
don't
so
need-
then guess
So
whose
you
house
don't need, you don't need to know whose house is it, but just identify the style and then from there we can see who.
Yeah.
So does your house look like Meatcox? Is that what you're saying?
My house looks like your house.
Oh, you've got the
I've got
baby boomer
antiques, I've got modern
Turkish
furniture.
rug, right?
Well, I've
The
got,
signature.
I've got arts and crafts rugs on the floor. Modern furniture, antiques, like barrister cabinets full of history.
Barrister cabinets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that because in a way that just means that, you know, you are passionate about the furniture pieces that you have and not necessarily just buying something because it's,
No.
And lots of art. I mean, lots of art.
Mark, do you have a style that you relate to?
Oh, you've been to my house.
I know, so I just want to know if you, I know your style. I know your style.
It's extremely
No, it's not traditional, it's classical, so I will say, but it's classic, and it looks great. You see, that I feel like that's a great example of, again, just because you have some pieces that are antique and are maybe a little bit more traditional, like you said, it doesn't mean that the house is dated, it's just classical. There's nothing wrong with that because classical is timeless, so.
Yeah. I was gonna say, it's Baker showroom, but it's really not. A lot of, we don't have any Baker pieces.
Yeah, some pieces.
A few, but it's that sort of look and style
Mhm.
for many rooms. Certainly the living room, dining room.
Yeah.
Family rooms, a little more relaxed, less of other oriental lugs everywhere.
So zero rental rugs seem to be a trend within realtors I've known.
Even young realtors? I thought that was just
I don't know.
What?
Okay, okay, I'll take
Don't even know.
I will say, I do have a few because every time I travel, I cannot bring back a fabric piece, so it's really, I
Yeah.
have plenty of Moroccan rugs and Turkish.
Yeah, I love textiles and that's.
Yeah, and I mean, it's something easy enough for, if you get, it's happened to me so many times where I have a rug out and then I get a little bit tired of that rug and then switch it out and switch it back in, but I always keep them.
Well, yeah, me too.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what's the fun part about having the house and decorating it, it's making it your own space. So that's why even when I talk about all these trends, I feel like it's really important that everyone understands what their personal style is. Because I mean, like, if you love your home, that's the most important thing, really. Other questions or things that you want to go over? And I can go back to the entrance for next year. Are any of you going to recommend your clients to put wallpaper on ceiling?
Oh, yeah, I was gonna tell you, there's a company in the Decorative Center, I think it's Sutherland.
Possibly,
Yeah, they have a wall covering product that's called Innovations.
Mhm.
It's really fantastic residential.
I will say, in all the projects that we did this year, all our clients wanted wallpaper somehow, smaller projects, so, maybe just a powder room, but it is definitely a trend that's come back. And again, the same, Columbia house that I mentioned, they didn't wallpaper the ceiling, but, for their young girls' bedrooms, they did just paint the ceiling, so the whole house was white, but they wanted some color in that looked great too.
Oh, so it was white walls, basically
But
white walls
it-
and colors,
yeah.
really nice.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Let me, again, these photographs are on the
The
wall.
deal with wallpaper is though, only expensive, good wallpaper is worth using, right? Because cheap wallpaper just is like, forget it, right? But,
Well, in a way, yes, but it also depends on, I mean, because for how long are you wanting to keep it, you know? Because if it's something that you're planning on ripping out after 5 years,
no, Maria, that's not where I'm going with it. I mean, for when you're styling a house to sell it,
yes.
the good wallpaper is distinctive, so that seems like a wrong way to go since it is distinctive.
Well,
you know, as
definitely, and
opposed to-
also I wouldn't necessarily recommend, so the projects where we've used wallpaper, they weren't listings, we were already working with a homeowner, because I feel like the last thing you'd want, you know, is to pick a really nice, expensive wallpaper,
Yeah.
have it installed, and then the buyer hates it, because not everyone's buying into the wallpaper trend, so that's why a lot of times you have to be really careful with these trends, it's just because they're trending, not everyone's gonna love them, no matter how some people really do hate them, yes.
With this wallpaper trend, I'm very curious, the last couple houses I've seen, that some of their smaller spaces have had it.
Right,
Who's putting the wallpaper up? Are there people that still know how to do it, or?
oh, yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
Are
you've got installers doing it.
Okay.
Right. I mean, because there's tricks of the trade, you know, you have to size the wall, you know, in order, like, you put a coat
But a lot
of
of,
adhesive paint on it.
you don't have as many craftsmen these days as you used to.
Yeah, well, no, actually, there
So
are
basically, the
a lot of
craftsmen
craftsmen
are just
out
more
there.
expensive.
that-
That's what it is.
But they, you know, they're commercial guys. They're not like, you know, when you go and you say, I'm gonna get my house painted, you're a Hispanic crew. Everybody that hangs wallpaper, they're like head and shoulders above.
And also, you know,
And
like
they paint commercial stuff.
advancing technology and everything, you also, I mean, installing wallpapers these days isn't as hard. You have some which still have the same procedure, but you also can buy, you know, like self-advancing, which I still wouldn't recommend installing it yourself. But it's easier. I mean, honestly, it's like they come and they install it in 1 hour and they're out. It looks great, yeah. It's a fun way of adding some detail. And a lot of the good wallpapers, you can actually paint over them. So, you know, it's easier painting over wallpaper than maybe replacing a tile. So I think that's a good suggestion if you want, for instance, for, again, a powder room. If you want some kind of like fun feature wall and don't necessarily want to tile it because, again, you might regret it after a couple of years and you didn't want to replace the tile. If you just use wallpaper and then you can paint over it, that's
Okay, what about the modern products for painting over tile?
plasters.
Yeah, is that proved to be, is that working?
That does work definitely, and I think it's a great resource. The only thing is that not everyone loves the plaster look. You know, it's a very specific look. And the great thing is, so Catherine, I've never seen the final photos, but so the island for True Road that
Oh, yeah.
plastered over, how did that work out?
Yeah, that's really good.
So
They really got rid of this like,
So this is the house where we're recommending using plaster to cover. Did we do the fireplace as well in the
the
end?
fireplace, the island, and the backsplash.
Right. And so for the island, there was like a tile wrapped island, and they're going to list the house, and we just wanted to keep it easy up there.
Yeah.
So just make it look better.
This is the,
And we plastered over it, and so everyone's happy now.
Oh,
But
okay.
again, but it is a plaster look, so again, not everyone will love it, but it's more likely that we can prefer that over the tile, so it's not necessarily a solution to it.
no, I'm talking about an easy way to get rid of bad tile. or
Yeah,
bad
plaster would
stone
definitely
or
be,
bad-
and also, I mean, these limestone plasters that they have these days, they come in such a wide range of color. So it comes in such a wide range of color palettes.
Oh, yeah.
Do you
Oh,
have
yeah, that's,
do you have the photograph before?
No, I don't have the photograph for it.
There's the slate that goes.
Yeah, so you,
Yeah, that's the floor, you can put it in the island.
oh, wow.
and it's seamless,
Brilliant.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that your idea?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't come up with a product.
Yeah.
Well, I had heard you talk about it, but I never saw it, so I'm glad to actually see what.
And I mean,
you
and we have like the samples, and would you like to see the finishes now? I guess next presentation I'll just bring all this out. But I have all these things in me, so if you ever have questions.
No, this is Star's listening through.
Oh, okay.
That nobody likes.
For a year, and now it's multiple.
Yeah. Just change the picture that made it look.
Oh, but the picture wants to do a picture y'all changed.
If you pull the listing, you can see better photos, but these are just photos like specifically of the plaster situation.
I saw that.
Oh,
Yeah, maybe you should send it, but I said,
It had this thing that ugly slate was there.
so call about your house.
They just,
Did you say it's plaster?
the two like pictures.
It was under contract, but,
Yeah, the pictures suck.
sell their house.
I think they were doing the listing.
Not
Next to this.
Then Thanksgiving.
Let's send that in the first.
Southern Porch Road.
And I will bring so, and we do have all the resources, so if you ever need to stop talking to me and to stop. Yeah.
So, but it's, I guess my house rather than.
But it should say DCE.
New like picture above the dining table. You say you can see it.
Yeah.
Here's the old new picture above the dining table.
So,
Crazy line.
these are the plaster colors, and I love how them with it's complete glory, but I can just
Oh, there's just some sort of lottery thing.
again. So this will be training in 2019.
Oh, yes, that's right, here we go.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you have
There are little
Hold on.
coral
It's a
goats.
bunch of penny paint. And they fixed the stuff.
And then the great thing, and so the brand that we like working with for these plasters is Chateau.
The color of my walls, my house, I know it's too cooled out, because it's too warm, right? For now, like.
This
That's-
one, if you.
But it looks so pretty, the Oriental rugs, right? I mean, but that's exactly the color of my walls.
And then, so these are the actual plasters, and then these are the limestone paints.
It really looks
Great
like-
for
yeah,
that.
It literally the stairs would be on.
Uh-huh.
It's this
Yes,
seasonal-
the corrugated metal.
Yes, and so high.
The cheeseburgers.
Right, this is also, yes, the.
No, so these are actually, these are limestone based wall paints,
That's what.
so it's paint,
So we
but it
yeah.
has resistance to it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the one,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
That's a special-
Market
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I mean, a regular paint should be able to.
It's just a paint that
Because you see it,
pulls
yeah,
itself into
Right.
striations.
You have to have this.
Yeah.
no, that's just the one.
So you can paint this on regular.
No, you, I mean, you.
Yeah.
Paint all the,
You don't
yeah.
have to have this when you make bonding paper.
Just kind of a little.
I think-
Oh, primer, primer.
Yeah.
I think we're right there.
Cool.
Maria,
The primer.
how much does that thing cost per gallon?
I-
$100.
No, excited, I mean, the prices really aren't that bad. I would love to be able to get the price. I know that, I mean, it's going to be maximum $50, but,
Dominique carries it.
yeah, so, cause 2 years ago, they came up with, a sister company to do the architectural finishes. So I don't know if you're familiar with Chateau, Domain, which again have a lot of the classical vintage, I mean, beautiful furniture, really. And 2 years ago, they came up with their architectural finishes line, and that's where the plasters.
Yeah, this is a very inexpensive version of the last year. You know, because you can paint it just, almost everybody
The
can do
colors
this.
are marvelous.
Yeah, they're just,
They're awesome.
because they're natural, so these are all natural pigments, and that's why they're so.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I could eat all of them at once, you know, like I love a good chalk paint stuff.
Mhm.
Kind of my favorite.
Right.
Yeah, and then also here are some of the tile books that we have for next year, if you wanna look at it. Again, one thing that's also important is for floor tile in like large format, so we're talking about tiles that are about like 48 inches by 98 inches, you know. Of course, this only works in big houses, but it's great because it becomes more seamless and you have less grout lines and all of that. So there are the colors that come with that line. And there's some more books. That was kind of like that geometric shapes that I was talking about earlier. And how we can make some geometric shapes with different colors as well.
Do you think that would go into my kitchen?
Yeah. So the great thing about all these lines in here is that you can see.
Johnny Depp.
What I'll say is that these are like great neutral tones, so they really will blend in with any style. Of course, that some are slightly more modern, maybe for your house, I wouldn't necessarily recommend like this shade, but you can do something a little bit more fun. For instance, this herringbone right here, this one's beautiful, and so it's this shade right here. It's not really, it's more of a chevron pattern, and then herringbone, and it's doing the 3 colors. It's super cool. And
So we could do like a powder and kitchen style. No, I was really small.
I need to come back to look at that. And then here are some of the concrete finish tiles, which again, a lot of this kind of adds to the industrial feel that we talked about earlier. Anytime you need maybe companies to look at samples of price, they help you. Have you roll over samples kind of hiding the roll.
Well, this is what I'm gonna paint for walls next. So, because I see it does go.
Yeah, and also, I mean, by now we're kind of lost some of the.
So do they do custom coloring on the paints?
I
Or do
don't
they just
think
fix
so, but they do have, I don't have all the colors here, I don't think they do custom colors, line, but they have so many colors.
Yeah.
Found over another box.
Well, and also the flavors, so now, this was like right the first box that, they gave us like to, I like,
Yeah. That's the other thing when you're looking for paint colors at paint store. When you look at the wall, or you just see the whites, there might be 15 different whites.
Oh, I meant color.
No, I'm just using white as an example. But if you look at the architectural box, they have 125 whites. So when you look at the other colors, they'll have as many of the other colors. Like if you're looking for a gray, they'll have 20 grays on the wall, but they really have 120 grays to look at.
I believe if you haven't had a nervous breakdown about your color yet, you don't have the right color yet.
You said.
I mean, I'm really into it, that's my, especially the whites, because it changes my feelings.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm into
Well, the architects have boxes, white boxes, and they're incandescent and fluorescent. So they'll turn the lights
I
on.
apologize.
So it almost looks like you have to put a 2 by 2 foot
I would.
spot